Welcome to the multiverse, where we take two different series and see what would have happened. In today's multiverse video, I will be crossing over the Star Wars and Marvel universe, where Han Solo and Chewbacca help the Guardians of the Galaxy fight off the Mad Titan Thanos. Avengers Infinity War was a 2018 superhero movie based on the superhero team of the same name. It was the sequel to the Avengers that was made in 2012 and Avengers Age of Ultron that was created and filmed in 2015. It is the 19th film in the MCU and was directed by the Russo brothers. The movie was inspired by Jim Starlin's 1991 comic book The Infinity Gauntlet and Jonathan Hickman's 2013 comic book Infinity. The movie's estimated budget was a whopping almost $400 million, making it one of the most expensive movies ever made. Still, it was all worth it, as it grossed a staggering $2 billion worldwide, breaking numerous records, including becoming the first superhero movie to gross that much, the highest grossing film of 2018, and the fourth highest grossing film of all time. This fanfiction brings worlds together to make a fantastic new story. Along the Guardians of the Galaxy planned to be in the Avengers, they were not planned to have a significant role, but played an essential part of the whole movie and significantly influenced the timeline of the story arc. Now, what if they had help from another world? What if events had unfolded differently? And what if Han Solo and Chewbacca helped the Guardians of the Galaxy fight against Thanos? What do you think would have happened? Let's find out together in this highly requested multiverse video. After Han Solo and Chewie had dropped Princess Leia off after rescuing her from the Death Star, they decided that the fight wasn't for them and that they needed to lay low from the Empire. They then decided to leave Yavin 4 and go to the furthest part of the universe to stay away from all of the fighting until it had stopped. Unknown to them, the warp drive of the Millennium Falcon had been damaged, and not just that, the AI of the ship could not detect the damage. Immediately after reaching the outside of the atmosphere of Yavin 4, they activated the warp drive and jumped. Halfway through the jump, the ship alarm began to sound off. Something was amiss, so wrong that the notice had suddenly kicked off, showing signs that many things were terrible. The ship was going faster than they had expected, jolting badly. As Han Solo and Chewie tried to get the ship back on course, it only made things worse. As they tumbled and warped badly, Chewie activated their distress signal to send for help, just before they blacked out. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Galaxy got a response to two different distress calls. One was coming from the same part of the universe, and one was an identified Asgardian ship, while the other came from an unknown and unidentified ship. Rocket thought that maybe the two ships had been destroyed, that the worst thing that could have happened was that they were going to salvage parts from these ships. Peter decided that a rescue mission had to happen, and that the passengers are there and they could be alive. They made their way to where the distress signals were coming from. They had split into two teams and gone to check on the two ships. The Asgardian ship was decimated entirely, while the other ship was completely intact. This made the rescue even weird because it made it harder for them to tell what had happened. From the Asgardian ship, they found somebody floating in space. It was none other than Thor. He was floating in the emptiness of space, unconscious, but on the second ship, what they found was highly alien, even to their standard. Just a pilot and a co-pilot occupied the ship. They had both blacked out for some reason. The first passenger was a normal-looking human being, and the other was a giant humanoid creature. While the people they rescued remained unconscious, they towed the strange intact ship. It didn't take long before Thor woke up and told them that Thanos had attacked him, and how Thanos was going to get the Reality Stone on nowhere. He told them that he needed to travel to Nidavellir to get a new weapon. While they were discussing, the two others woke up. The creature was the first to wake up and immediately freaked out and pulled out a crossbow-looking weapon. At the same time, the human with him did the same. He then demanded that the Guardians of the Galaxy tell him who they were and where they were. They said to them that they were in safe hands and among friends. Peter then jumped in and said that his crew had gotten their distress call and found them blacked out. Assuming that Thor was in charge, Han Solo introduced himself and Chewie and asked him who he was. Then Peter interfered in the conversation and jumped in, telling Han Solo that he was the one in charge and they were with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that even though Thor looked like he was in charge, they had just rescued him as, according to him, Thor was helpless and stranded in space, but was currently their passenger. So Han Solo explained that they were with the rebellion and that they were fighting the Empire. The Guardians were confused and said that they never heard of anything Han was talking about. After trying to explain several times, they got to know that the reason why Han, Chewie, and everything about them looked so strange was that they were from another universe entirely, and that is it. They attempted to run away from the war that ravaged their galaxy, and they warped out of their universe. On hearing their story, Thor insisted that it was fate and that maybe they needed to fight the foe in this current universe. They then explained what Thanos was attempting to do and why he needed to be stopped. Han explained that he understood the cause they were fighting for was noble, but they were soldiers of fortune, mercenaries, and would only fight for coin. They were unwilling to fight, except it was for something in return. Right now, what they needed was to fix their ship and find a way home. Peter then told them that it was an easy thing to grant. In exchange for their help, Rocket was not the one only to fix their ship, but they were also going to find a way to get them back home. After consulting with Chewie, Han agreed to their terms. Rocket Raccoon worked his magic, and as soon as he had fixed their ship, Han Solo and Chewbacca took Thor to Nidavellir to get his new weapon, while the Guardians of the Galaxy went to go to nowhere to try and stop Thanos. The Millennium Falcon was one of the fastest ships in the universe and could outrun anything. That was the appeal of the Millennium Falcon. Han and Chewie soon got to Nidavellir to get the Stormbreaker with Eitri, the Dwarf King. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Galaxy got to nowhere and found out that Thanos had already reached for the Reality Stone, but he did not stop there. He waited for them to arrive. As soon as they entered the chambers, they found Thanos waiting for them. He told them that he had come for Gamora and that the only way they had a chance of living was to hand over Gamora willfully. The Guardians of the Galaxy ignored that option, telling him that there was no way that they should let him take her, and immediately engaged him in a fight. He wanted to take Gamora and she knew where the Soul Stone was. They had soon sent a distress signal to the Millennium Falcon requesting help. Meanwhile, back on Nidavellir, they had been able to forge the Stormbreaker from the heart of a star. In exchange for their help, Eitri granted Han and Chewie an upgrade of their current weapons. Infusing them with a bit of Asgardian magic, immediately they got a distress signal, boarded the Falcon, sped through the universe, immediately warping speed to nowhere. They arrived in the nick of time. Just as the Mad Titan decimated the Guardians, Chewie took control of the Falcon and used it to shoot Thanos away from the Guardians into the ship. At the same time, Han and Thor lunged at Thanos, attacking him with their new weapons, firing simultaneously at him and pushing him further into space. And Thanos' ship was being destroyed. At the same time, the Guardians, Thor and Han fought hard against Thanos, pushing him even further and overwhelmed him. Attacking from all sides, and in the process of the fight, Thor used the Stormbreaker and chopped off the hand of Thanos that wore the gauntlet. In his defeat, Thanos was rescued by Midnight and Glaive in a pod, and then they fled away, leaving his severed hand and the gauntlet with all the Infinity Stones he had gathered. With Thanos defeated and Heimdall's help, Han and Chewie were sent back to their universe with the Rainbow Bridge. That is all for this fan fiction. where we fused and crossed over the Star Wars universe into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we could see that Han Solo and Chewie played a massive part in helping them defeat Thanos, mainly for the fact that the Millennium Falcon was equipped with a warp drive and made it easy to travel at an extreme amount of space-time. What did you guys think of this multiverse video? If you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more, then do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with latest content. But anyways, as always, guys, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.